guys, it's Josh Reviews. So, for those of you who are not familiar with an online streaming service called Hulu, there is a TV show / movie thing that they got going on that is, I believe they're owned by Blumhouse, aka Universal Studios, and essentially what it is, it's a TV horror series, but each episode's like a horror movie. It's called Into the Dark, and essentially each episode is like a different holiday-themed horror film, or some of them aren't even holiday themes. Now, I've only seen a few of them. Obviously, if you saw my Halloween month back in, was it 2019 or 2018, whatever, I did Uncanny Annie. It was 2019. I did Uncanny Annie. I've Uncanny Annie, Crawlers, but I forget the name all the time. And those are the only ones I've seen. So this one in particular caught my eye. Pooka. Poo. I just said poo. See how mature I am? Okay, so Pooka, what the fuck? Okay, Pooka. Sorry about the audio in the background, by the way. Pooka, this is it's essentially a Furby horror film. That's essentially what it is. So the plot centers around this guy named Wilson, who is trying to, something traumatic happened, and he moves to an apartment building, and he tries to start a new life. He meets this girl who has a kid. He meets someone next door, and he gets a job. He's an inspiring actor, and he gets a job as essentially dressing up and being the mascot for this toy called Pooka, and it's supposedly the next big toy, the next, I don't know, Lego set that you'll see in a Target that's like worth $100. And essentially, the more he starts putting on the costume, he essentially becomes a furry. So this is the day in the life of a furry. He goes insane. And the whole film shows us what happened to him. I gotta be honest, this one caught my eye, but when I was getting ready to watch it, I was not looking forward to it. In fact, I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch this. Okay, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be real fun. Yay! However, I gotta admit, this surprised the hell out of me. This was actually not half bad. I gotta admit, I really was not interested in watching it. It caught my eye because I was like, oh, Christmas, but it really has nothing to do with Christmas. It's just one of those films that takes place during Christmas time. I gotta be honest, man, Into the Dark has been surprising me. I've only seen a handful of their movies. This one, Uncanny Annie, which I liked, and their St. Patrick's Day one, whatever it was, Crawlers, I think? Yeah, Crawlers. Those films were surprisingly good. They each have their own flaws because they're a TV horror film in a way. But I gotta be honest, this one surprised me, and I'm surprised at how well it was acted. Uncanny Annie had some moments where the actors didn't really feel like the actors were trying. And Crawlers, I believe, yeah, Crawlers. I don't know, just like the acting was kind of subpar in that one. That one was okay, but I still enjoyed it. This one, though, the acting was surprisingly really good. For a TV film, the acting and cinematography and everything is really good. This film has a lot of use of colors, and it's really flashy and bright and very colorful, which is something I didn't expect, especially from a Christmas film. Usually Christmas films nowadays are just kind of dull and bland looking. This one was surprisingly very colorful and eye-pleasing to look at. And something else I didn't expect. I didn't expect to like our main character, Oscar Wilson. Sorry, his name's Wilson. I didn't expect to like Wilson so much. Wilson was actually a really engaging character, and I found myself getting very invested into what was going on with his life and how he went down this downward, how he goes down this downward spiral, and how eventually he just becomes insane because he's been wearing a furry costume so much. Okay, I gotta stop making fun of furries. But, you know, just kidding. I don't have anything against furries. You know, they can do whatever they want. But it's kind of hard not to make the joke. But yeah, this genuinely surprised me. It's more of a psychological horror film, and I got to be perfectly honest. I am not a psychological horror person myself. I'm not a big fan of those type of films. Like movies like The Lighthouse, that's a really fucking good film. That is like an A+ movie. But on a personal enjoyment, like would I personally watch it and like, you know, to enjoy it? No, not really. It's not my cup of tea. It's a well-made, well-crafted movie. Definitely takes a lot of inspiration from Lovecraft, which I fucking love. I love Lovecraft. My favorite story is Shadow over Innsmouth. That's a fascinatingly dark tale, and I love that story. And, you know, movies like that, like The Lighthouse, movies like Eraserhead, or other psychological horror films where they make you think, and it's all about like, ooh, that's not what you thought you saw. It's like, not a big fan of that. And this movie definitely takes some, it definitely has that, it takes that approach into what it's doing. But surprisingly, it did very well. There wasn't a moment where I was like, this is like, you know, I obviously knew where it was going once, because you've seen this stuff before. That's the only, the big criticism I have with this film. It doesn't take any new directions, but, you know, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't care if a movie, you know, has like a similar plot or cliches in the movie. As long as it's well handled, then I'm okay in the end. Like, I don't care. Just tell a good story. You could tell the worst story possible and the movie could be entertaining. You know what I mean? There are a lot of things that can save a movie. And I gotta be honest, this movie takes a lot of elements that you would normally look at and be like, wow, that's just goofy. Why are you trying so hard to make this a serious movie? But what makes this movie, like, you know, this movie, like, you look at the cover, right? You look at the cover and it's like a furry mascot, Pooka Furby, whatever. And you're like, okay, this is going to be like, this is going to be silly, right? This is going to be a comedy. No, it's a really serious movie. And what helps it is the acting and the story and the writing. The writing was surprisingly good. And by the end, I was like, oh, okay, it took a few twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. I predicted some stuff because if you've seen any movie like this, you kind of know where it's going. And once you know what story it's going to be, you're like, oh, okay, I know where it's going. You know, I know how it's going to end. And it was predictable. That is my biggest gripe with the film. But it still kept me engaged. I still wanted to see what happened to our main character because he's likable and you feel bad for him. And as things get progressively worse, you just ultimately feel more bad for not only him, but you feel more bad for the characters around him and what's going on. And I surprisingly found myself really enjoying this film. I gotta be honest, this was surprisingly really good. This was surprisingly really good. Is it perfect? No. But I'll go ahead and give it an A-. I thought it was solid. So check it out. It's on Hulu. If you have Hulu, not a lot of people do nowadays, but check it out. I guess we got to review another one. So there's another Christmas film on Hulu, Into the Dark. What's that called? Nasty Piece of Work. Oh, that's going to be a fun one.